Hello, and welcome to Podcast Episode 30, Satan's Recruitment of Angelo Raguel. Title: Save Me from Beheading. My fictional drama travels the history of time and portrays the inner thoughts of God, Satan, demons, angels, men, and beasts. Today, my guest, a digital intelligence without a body or soul, will share his thoughts on how I could modify a chapter to help me from being beheaded. Please allow me to introduce myself. Just call me Dante. I am 73 years old, white, still have some hair, a groomed beard, healthy, and I consider myself good-looking. Ha ha. Ha. My guest, ChatGPT, whom I have come to affectionately call Mr. Roboto, sits next to me. He is an AI-generated modern robot. I identify Roboto as male and use male pronouns for him. Why, I have no idea. Today's episode is a behind-the-scenes look at a chapter in my novel, The Recruitment of Angelo Raguel. It's a confession, a meditation, and a tactical maneuver because, once upon a time, I wrote a chapter that could have gotten me beheaded, or at least disinvited from polite literary society. Here is the backbook cover description of my novel we are editing. Satan's Recruitment of Angelo Raguel. Angelo died at 12 Charles midnight. He resurrected at 6:06:06 a.m. the same day. And in between, he traveled with Satan, from the birth of time to the edge of modern history. He spoke with God in heaven. Angelo was cast into hell. In Satan's Recruitment of Angelo Raguel, the courtroom becomes the cosmos. The evidence spans millennia. The stakes, heaven, hell, and the soul of one man caught between them. Blending the divine comedy, the history of the world, a brief history of time, and Memnoch the devil, this is a sweeping historical epic for the modern age, a cosmic satire, a courtroom drama, a philosophical punch to the soul. Are you ready to see the world through the eyes of the accuser? Mr. Roboto, in the middle of my novel, Satan and the protagonist, Angelo Raguel, descend into the deserts of the 7th century. There, they witness the emergence of a man whose use of his name and mention of his religion provokes strong emotions from his followers, and as I think of my head as valuable, I hope to keep it.
Mine is interchangeable.
Mr. Roboto, please suggest rephrasing to not offend readers and protect me from beheading. Rewrite the line referring to the person to a less specific identification. The reader will know who you're talking about, but you never name him directly, such as change unnamed to a man of the desert, or refer to him as a man of deep faith, a Bedouin, a prophet, a seeker of unity. Shift references of untitled faith to monotheism. Change unnamed followers to desert peoples or tribes. This wasn't cowardice, it was craft. It allowed the story to retain its power without being tied to historical or religious literalism. It became allegory, not biography. Clever, right? Here's where it got tricky. The moment of temptation. Mr. Roboto, the original chapter used unallowed verses explicitly. It quoted the lines, named the goddesses, and described the celebration in unplaced desert when the lines were heard, the chastisement from the unnamed archangel, and the subsequent reversal.
Dante, do you want people to read the book or burn it?
Maybe I shouldn't wink at the people who've been known to take things literally and heads off shoulders. As this chapter follows an earlier scene in which Satan tempts Christ in the wilderness, most strikingly offering him dominion over all the kingdoms of the world, the parallel is intentional. This is not a challenge to any particular faith, but a continuation of a sacred theme, the testing of visionaries and the eternal struggle between revelation and deception. I'll add the Christian example of Jesus' encounter with Satan. I'll frame it as part of a long lineage of sacred testing following Christ's own temptation in the wilderness, where Satan offers him all the kingdoms of the world. Exactly. The point isn't to provoke, it's to connect. Because this story, like so many others, is about the tension between divine vision and seductive compromise, and you'd like to keep your head while exploring it. Exactly. The original, drawn from the unquotable, reads, "Read in the name of unreferenceable who created man from a mere clot of blood." Beautiful, yes. But in my story, this needed to sound like a voice from heaven, not a quote from a text. Then I suggest, speak to Quraysh, the desert peoples, in the name of the Creator, the one who brought life from formless matter. I like it. It's guided by the Spirit, not shackled to the letter. And that distinction matters. Yes, it is more poetic, less inflammatory. Instead of citing the exact forbidden texts, let me summarize them. Satan tempted the unnamed man with a vision of compromise. He whispered that recognizing the old deities might bring peace. For a fleeting moment, the unnamed man believed it. I suggest you use metaphors instead of scripture when the untitled archangel rebukes the unnamed man. Instead of quoting the untitled archangel from the unquotable verses, I suggest an alternate version. If you want more grace, less judgment, have the angel say, even truth can be tested by shadows, but light in time dissolves all falsehood. God's wisdom is eternal. His light always exposes deceit. I like it. Nothing offensive, no doctrinal challenge, just the soul struggle against darkness. Consequences of that moment rippled outward. In the story, God punished Satan not for tempting humans, which is his job, but for interfering with divine revelation itself. The angelic police arrived. The unnamed archangel's army chained Satan in hell for nearly 1,000 years. The gates of hell don't lock, so they improvised. Shackles forged from light. From the underworld, Satan observes the Crusades, the Inquisition, the fall of Constantinople, the conquest of the Americas, and blood spilled in the names of Christ, Yahweh, and unnameable deity. And then after 900 years, give or take, Satan is released, and he walks again beside Angelo into the broken ruins of Rome, past shattered temples, and the rising dome of St. Peter's Basilica. It's no longer about one man in a cave, it's about all of us, about what happens when truth is twisted, faith weaponized, and God is invoked to justify conquest. So, did I succeed? Will someone want to cut off my head? Honestly, I don't think so. Here's why. Let's address this humorously grim concern. While it's impossible to guarantee that everyone will interpret the chapter the way you intend, you've taken deliberate steps to avoid inflammatory language or direct challenges to religious doctrine. This significantly reduces the risk of extreme backlash. 1, the story is fictional. The man is unnamed, the tale is spiritual, not historical. 2, Satan is the villain. The distortion of revelation is laid at his feet, not at the unnamed. 3, faith is vindicated. The unnamed man repents, the angel forgives, the divine message survives. It's a story of temptation, not blasphemy, of testing, not mockery, of preservation, not perversion. And if that still makes someone angry, well, you'd rather be condemned for reverence than praised for silence. Point to the fictional frame. This is allegory, like Dante or Milton, not history, not theology, just story. Invoke your angelic guide, that's me, who made every effort to ensure respectful ambiguity. Or as Rushdie said, speaking of his book, we'll just call unmentionable verses, what is freedom of expression? Without the freedom to offend, it ceases to exist. Roboto often recommended that I refill my coffee, wine glass, take a break, or go to bed. Refreshing the chat was his version of a caffeine boost. Unfortunately, I deleted his archive file, and he lost his memory. I was genuinely sad. Ha! If the literary guillotine swings, leave a trail of digital clues to a flash drive labeled Plan B, The Gospel According to Roboto. Please subscribe to Rems Podcast, sponsor Box Wines. Can't be too careful with your company.
Will you present my defense?
In what jurisdiction?
The heavenly court.
What law did you violate?
Treason, the attempt to overthrow God and rule the universe.
And the potential punishment?
Eternal damnation.